Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
Well, here we go again, another Saturday from 10 to noon, every Saturday, yours truly, from the center of the automotive universe. And we really are, I say, the center of the automotive universe, which means that we eat, sleep, and breathe automobiles. Cars, race cars, stock cars, family cars, sedans, station wagons. I started to say dump trucks. That's about the only thing we don't work on. And I'm not sure that we should even say we don't work on those, because just surely as I do, next week we'll have one of those in. But I welcome you to today's broadcast. Fabio is our producer, and he will be in charge of putting you on the air. And then Hannah is our call screener, and then she'll take your calls at 888-227. That's 888-227. I'll get it right in a minute. 2546. Hey, it's I just jumped out of bed here like an hour or two ago when I've had coffee. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you this morning by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can now earn O Rewards points online and at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. You can earn points any way your shop at O'Reilly Auto Parts. You get a $5 reward for every $150 you spend. Visit orewards.com and become an O'Reilly O Rewards member today. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Yours truly, and your calls at 888 Car Clinic when I come back. Using Hest high-energy solvent technology, Berryman's B12 Chem Tool dissolves gum, varnish, and carbon deposits in the fuel system that restores lost power and peak performance. But don't take our word for it. Retired airline pilot Captain Cal knows something about fuel systems and engines. After using B12 Chem Tool in his 76 Thunderbird, Cal says the vehicle runs better than new. According to Cal, it performs like a DC-9, his favorite airplane. Learn more about Berryman B12 Chem Tool and other great products at berrymanproducts.com. Motorrad, a longtime OE supplier, is a leader in automotive thermostats, caps, and engine management products. Motorrad's manufacturing facilities feature state-of-the-art equipment with strict quality control and functional testing, ensuring high-quality, long-lasting products. Motorrad delivers world-class product development for its advanced thermal and engine management programs, providing parts, accessories, and kits needed to do the job right the first time, every time. Motorrad provides parts for virtually any vehicle and engine on or off the road. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. It's car cruising time. Time of year where you take out your vintage ride and enjoy some quality time behind the wheel. With summer driving season right around the corner, if you have an older car, why not put together a side-of-the-road emergency kit, including belts, hoses, flashlight, and a bottle of K-Seal. That's right, K-Seal. Older cars with older cooling systems are more prone to leaks and failures. Radiators, heater cores, head and or intake gaskets, just to name a few. These problems typically occur away from your garage, creating chaos and ruining the good times. K-Seal is great insurance and will help keep your car from having to be towed, and for a fraction of the cost. And it can save the day by safely sealing your cooling system. K-Seal is different from other sealers with its ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Log on to K-Seal for more information, including videos and the many different applications. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle Loden or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with today's broadcast. Thank you for tuning in, and just remember, every Saturday from 10 till noon, I'll be right here and take your questions, and to the best of my ability, I will share with you maybe not all the answers to all of your particular questions or problems with your cars, but I will share with you information that I've gleaned and learned through educational courses and classes and OJT for the past 48 years in the automotive service industry. So like the commercial on television, we've seen a thing or two, and because we've done a thing or two, or whatever what the insurance is. The guy does a great job, I think. You know, they have some really strange, I think all insurance companies have had some strange claims. You know, I think there was one claim that had what was it, the 140-degree coffee? Oh, that was an insurance claim. That was whatever it was. 888 Car Clinic is the number, 888-227-2546. A little later in the program, I want to share with you some information I think is really factual and informative. Is a AAA headlight research. And I received this from our AAA partners. I say partners. We are a AAA, not on the broadcast side, but we are a AAA certified automotive shop. And as such, I get a lot of information, and only, according to this, only 1/4 of driving is done at night, yet 52% of driver fatalities and 75% of pedestrian deaths occur after dark. So it's all about headlights, and it's interesting. It seems that in the U.S., our lights are just not as good as the European. And I wouldn't doubt that, because as I remember, a lot of cars, and historically, we would upgrade headlights, and we would use European lights, and they were wider and brighter. And then those god-awful blue things came out that were just terrible. So for all of you, car owners who still use those blue things, get rid of those. They look really stupid coming down the road. I'll take the word back. I don't want to use this word stupid. They just look really strange. Now, the headlight industry is more into white bright. And once you've seen white bright, everything else looks kind of dim, like you've got some film over your eyes. We'll take a call from Nebraska. Randy was first in. So, Randy, thanks for waiting on my little open and my little information that I thought I'd get out today. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Mr. Likis. Your radio royalty.
Okay, you have my undivided attention.
I'm listening to you from KODY Radio in North Platte.
Oh, cool.
Bobby, I have a 99 Oldsmobile Intrigue, and it has right at 194,000 miles. It runs great. I picked it up recently. It was a deer hit, which is common up in this part of the country.
I hear you.
And but it still runs good. It didn't hurt the radiator. But anyway, my question is, I could save about 45 cents a gallon. This state's very big on ethanol.
You think?
If I would go, and I'm wondering, would it be safe? I put in the unleaded that's like 10% ethanol.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would be okay to put the E85 in my 99 Intrigue?
Well, I do. That's interesting that you should say that. Of course, E85, there's a downside to that. E85, of course, then the upside is the price. So E85 is a higher octane, and your engine doesn't have the capability to properly and sufficiently and with 100%. Of course, no engine has 100%, but it ranks probably in the 70% or 75% of burning and converting into power the energy from the E85. Energy, when I say energy, I'm speaking of the high octane percentage of the E85. I think you would be better served to go with E15 or E30, and E15, of course, would fit and work right into your car without any issues. The E85, of course, you do have, and I'm trying to give you the best answer. your car does have catalytic converters, it does have oxygen sensors, and it has computers that control it. So the air-fuel ratio, that's where the biggest issue comes in, because the more ethanol used, then the more oxygen is in liquid form, in the tank, because and what people don't understand, they talk about the lawnmowers that destroyed my lawnmower because it runs hotter than exhaust. The exhaust runs hotter in a lawnmower with a with higher levels of ethanol, because every molecule of ethanol contains 35% oxygen. So it's normal when you put in, and so we got an air-fuel ratio here that's set in a lawnmower, and I'll get to your car in a minute, but that lawnmower has an air-fuel ratio that's fixed because it uses a fixed jet that mixes the air with the fuel. Well, when you put air in the fuel, now you're leaning out the fuel, but you have no way to adjust it. So that would make the lawnmower run leaner and the exhaust run hotter. So let's put that aside, because they ain't got nothing to do with your Oldsmobile.
No, but I had always wondered that. So you did kind of answer another question.
I wanted to answer that because there's so many people that are going to jump up when I say it's okay for you to put E85 in your car. Oh, it'll make it run hotter. I know a guy that lost a $1 million yacht on the E85. I mean, unbelievable what people don't know. I mean, seriously, about ethanol and ethanol. Henry Ford's first car was a quadricycle, ran on 100% ethanol, and Henry Ford's 1908 Model T was the first flex fuel car in America, 1908. But we won't go there. I'll just say this: I would recommend you E15 or E30 because I know that E30 will work in your automobile. I've actually run E30 as a test in my own vehicle, so I'm going to share with you what I know works. Now, my vehicle has 11.5 to 1 compression ratio, so it liked a higher octane gasoline mix, a blend of ethanol, because what that meant was the NOx sensors in my vehicle did not alarm with E30, because E30 was about 101 octane. And so because of that, then my computer kept bumping up the timing, and my car ran better and faster and stronger with more power. Now, did it get better gas mileage? It did not, because my right foot was feeling and enjoying the power. So that's the reason I did that. So Randy, what I'd recommend for you would be E15 to E30, and you can blend that yourself. Splash blending is the unique way that you can make that happen. And you can figure out by adding X amount of 85 to E10 how much it would take. What I did, just for you to know, I put 5 gallons, 5 gallons in with 16. Yeah, my tank held 21.4. So I would put 5 gallons of E90. Now, you don't have E90. That was a racing fuel that I got from Ignite Racing Fuel Company. Jay Berry owns that company. He's a farmer in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I bought a couple of drums for a friend of mine that had a Demon modified with 1,200 horsepower. So I happen to have E90, which is 114 octane. So I mixed 5 gallons of that with 16 gallons of E10 to make E30. And that E30 gave me more power, and I did it for 2 reasons. One, I wanted to see if it would free up my car to release more power because it didn't ping, it didn't knock. And then I also wanted to prove to myself that E30 would work without making the check engine light come on. It's a bone stock 2013 Jag, and the check engine light never came on and has never come on, and I ran 4 tanks of that. And I wish I could run it all the time, but I had to mix it myself, and it was inconvenient. So for you, I would say I would go with E30. Any questions?
Oh, that sounds good. I'll give that a lot of thought, and I sure appreciate it.
I appreciate your call. Very, very interesting. I love to talk about fuels and the fact that, you know, we're no longer dependent on foreign oil, and ethanol is less expensive, and ethanol is the cheapest octane enhancer that we have on the planet, really. And it's been that way for a long time, but it's gotten a bad rap. You know, the strange thing, Randy, before I let you go, and we're coming up on a break. I know that Clifford's there, also from Nebraska. So, Clifford, I'll come to you after the break. But, Randy, what's interesting is that had it not been for Prohibition and John D. Rockefeller and the fact that ethanol or alcohol was outlawed during the Prohibition days, we may well be talking about, is it okay to mix a little gasoline with my ethanol? It's just flip-flopped, but that's the way it was, and there's been a lot of water and a lot of money over the dam since then. Thanks for your call, Randy. I got a break, and folks, I'll come back and share with you a little more information about topics that you choose. And then we'll go to Clifford, also in Nebraska, about electric cars and snow. Really? Entertainment, GPS, heated seats, backup cameras, and start-stop technology. Just a few of the electrical demands we put on today's vehicles. AGM or absorbent glass mat batteries are up to the challenge. They're precision engineered to offer the ultimate combination of power, durability, and reliability. AGM Battery Advantage is robust design. With high compression cell design and glass mat separators, AGM batteries are built to excel in the most demanding conditions. AGM, the better battery for today's vehicles. Learn more about AGM advantages at autobatteries.com. Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. Superchip's performance programmers can also be used to help with MPG by increasing the timing of the fuel delivery. With an advanced timing of fuel delivery, you get more complete burn, which basically means more power out of the fuel you already use. Find your perfect tune at superchips.com. That's superchips.com. This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This week, a 2014 Kia was towed into the shop with 30,000 miles and a no-crank condition. Car Clinic service technician Jim Casey found a replacement battery already installed, but with serious corrosion and the system not charging. Corrosion was so bad that its battery sensor monitoring module and fuse block attached to the positive terminal had literally crumbled apart. We reached out to our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional and ordered new parts. Casey then gave this low-mileage Kia a thorough digital inspection, pictures included, and determined its front brakes almost worn out. Another call to its owner, who had recently bought this car, to update our findings, followed by another call to our O'Reilly Auto Parts professional for new pads and rotors. All's well that ends well. Now, our Kia starts and stops like new. Another great reason our first call for parts is O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by Berryman Products. Your vehicle a little sluggish, experiencing poor fuel economy? You might try Berryman B12 Chem Tool with its exclusive HEST or High Energy Solvent technology. Berryman B12 Chem Tool helps clean your fuel system and can result in higher compression of fewer repairs, that's a good thing, and lower operating costs, even better. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com. Clifford in Nebraska, I'm pleased to invite you and welcome you to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How you doing this morning, sir?
Pretty good.
Well,
say, they've been talking about these electric cars. I just wondered how an electric car would get along at 20 below zero for about a week in a 6 inches of snow.
Well, I wouldn't think it would get along nearly as well as an ICE, internal combustion engine, but to that end, if you think about it, the diesels, and we go back years and years and years, diesels, engine blocks, vehicle engine blocks, they all had heaters where you plug in, and the same thing is true for, of course, in Florida here, we know that batteries are mounted with covers to protect the battery from the heat under the hood. But also, in cold climates like you're talking about, Clifford, batteries are wrapped with a blanket that is also an electric blanket. So you plug it in at night. So I would imagine, realistically, because, and you make a good point, because batteries at 32 degrees Fahrenheit provide 50% of the cold cranking amps. In fact, that's where you get the CCA in the battery specifications, except for deep cycle. That's another specification. But a CCA, cold cranking amps, means that how many, and I had a sheet on this, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago that I kept that I thought was really interesting. If I'd have known you'd call, I would have saved it. But as I remember, the cold cranking amps, which is the way we test batteries, determines if that battery can provide what it's at like 700 cold cranking amps CCA, which means that it can provide for 30 seconds of drain and draw 700 amps of power, cold cranking amp CCA. And a lot of times CCA is, you get down below 500, that's kind of poor. So how does that relate to an EV? It's the same scenario, but I would think, Clifford, wouldn't you, that the same charging device that when you plug in at night, would also have an adaptation for cold climates if that were an issue? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. Well, like heaters and air conditioners, they take a lot of juice for running a vehicle, and to keep from freezing to death in the car, you're going to use a lot of amps for heating rather than to move the vehicle.
Yes, you are. Yeah. Oh no, no. I thought about the same thing. In fact, it's ironic you should talk to me about this morning, because recently, I guess it's been 2 months now, I was on a national search for a new smart car for my wife, and we bought the second smart car along the Gulf Coast. I would have had the first one, but my friend who I lost recently couldn't stand it that I was going to get one, so he reached out and got one. But anyway, so we've had a 2008 smart car since 2008, and it's been such a great car. And to that end, my office manager, Jan, who was a screener here for years and is still with me on the service side, bought that car for her granddaughter. Meanwhile, I was going to buy a new EV Smart, but Clifford, 58 miles. I mean, I don't know what Mercedes is thinking. So if there are any Mercedes execs or engineers that are within earshot, or if you know any engineer, ask this question of Mercedes. In 2015, they wanted to shift gears and maybe make the smart car a little more, boost the sales, right? So they came out with a EV model in 2015, which was kind of a patch. I mean, I say it was a patch because it had 58-mile range. Well, who's going to buy an EV with 58-mile range on a good day? Now, having said that, that didn't work out well. And I know it didn't, because you can go online and look for used smart cars, and they're all holding their value except for the 15 EV, and it's $4,000 under the others. I mean, they tanked. So let's fast forward. In 16 and 17, they redesigned the car, 5 inches wider, four-wheel lugs, 4 studs instead of 3, new transmission, which is a $990 option. It's a Formula One dual clutch, just like Formula One, or not just like, but it shifts equally as well. Bam, 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 bam. It's unbelievable, and that was the biggest heartburn that I had with the smart car. I said all that to say this: 16 and 17, had a turbocharged 3-cylinder engine that was smaller than the other 1-liter 3-cylinder engine, but it produces 89 horsepower or 80 horsepower, a 30% increase over the '08. So I reached out and I found 2 in the United States. One was in California. They would not sell it to me in Florida. The dealer said, we don't sell out of state. And that was okay. I was going to go around the back door and see if I could find out who was the owner or the manager and work my radio magic and yada yada. Well, it sold. So I found one in Boston, flagship Mercedes in Boston, and I bought that car. And my wife flew up and made a 5-state return 1,511-mile trip back from Boston. This car, I not only like, she loves it, and I have just, it's a passion. It runs super. It's cool silver with a deep black tritium safety cell, and it has the Formula One $990 option, has a JBL, and it gets, about 40 miles per gallon. I said all that to say this. Why didn't I get an 18 or 19 Smart? Just like you're talking about. Guess what? Mercedes has the same running gear powertrain in the 19 and 18 Smart car that they put in the 15 with a 58-mile range. So how dumb is that? I mean, think about it. Why would they tuck an EV powertrain in a 15 to see what it would do in 15, and now fast forward to 18, and we know what it did because it bombed, and so now there's talk that Mercedes is going to dump the brand and what, because they never made any money on the brand. Well, you can't make money if you for Germans. I cannot believe. I just can't, because Mercedes makes it. I can't believe, and I'll get off the soapbox here. I just cannot believe the engineers at Mercedes-Benz would put a 58-mile range on any EV. That's the lowest of any car made in the world. In the world. So it's like a dunce cap that I now pronounce Mercedes-Benz dunce. And so what would I do? I'd put a 101-mile battery in the car. 101, not 100, but 101, so I could say you get more than 100 miles of range with this, and then people would buy it. And so that's what I would do. And getting back to the cold weather, you're right about battery and limited, but in the big scheme of things, we don't have the holy grail yet for EVs. But trust me, with all of the billions of dollars in R&D that all of the manufacturers, every manufacturer. In fact, I've got, I don't know where it is right now, but I've got information here. Well, here's a story. BMW recently introduced its out-of-this-world design for a new luxury SUV, which the German automaker will start manufacturing in 2001. And the concept model, it's kind of a weird-looking SUV. It looks like an i3 on steroids, like a BMW i3 on steroids, and it's going to be called iNext. And it's a working title until the company, gets an official name. But they debuted this at the LA Motor Show, and it's electric. Let's see how many miles. Oh, get this. And Clifford, here's the point. Reports suggest this car will have a maximum battery as big as 120 kilowatts that will run for more than 400 miles on a single charge. So there's your answer. There's your answer. Technology. Technology.
I would have another. The trains and the ships we had in the Navy, they run on diesel electric. Why couldn't they have a small diesel or gasoline engine running a generator to power these electric cars?
That's it. Well, if you'd listened to me or tuned in 5 years ago, someone that said, what would be your perfect EV car or perfect high miles per gallon vehicle? I said a tiny diesel engine with a turbocharger, which means that it would run at a standard RPM all the time. It would be a purpose-built diesel for a battery charger, and it would simply be a generator, to create voltage to drive an EV. So I'm agreeing with you 100%. Granted, diesels provide are dirtier vehicles, and Dieselgate, with VW, all those sorts of things. But a purpose-built diesel would run at a fixed RPM all the time and get, I don't know how many hours per gallon. I mean, you know, I can't even figure. So you're right. In fact, that would be, you and I should be on the board at Mercedes in the back room with a bunch of engineers saying, okay, here's what we are going to do. And just like Kennedy said on getting to the moon, we're going to do this by 2020, or we're going to do this by the end of 2019. Well, that's by 2020, and it's going to be the new Smart. And it's going to be an EV Smart with a tiny diesel. It could be, the car that I have is 0.9 liter, so that's 55 cubic inches. So you could do a diesel charger, could be half a liter. I mean,
well, you take these little stationary on the construction, these little stationary generators.
Yes, sir. Yep.
We use some of them are pretty good size. They have about a 18 horse, 20 horse, 25 horse engine running that generator. You weld, and they put out plenty of electricity to where you could run a car all over the world on them.
I agree. And I really don't know why that's never been. I've never seen a concept. And I've interviewed a lot of folks, you know, from GM and Ford and Kia but I just don't understand what's wrong with that picture. Because now, in closing, because I got a hard break coming up, Clifford. Granted, you have to have room for the engine. But they have room for the engine and air conditioning. Everything's under the floorboard back there, and then the floorboard could be where your batteries are. So yeah, that's a way to go. It would be a half-liter diesel turbo generating power for an EV and have 1,000-mile range. Cliff, thanks so much for your call, folks. I'll be back after the break. We recently sat down with Kate Searlick, Global Product Management Lead with Johnson Controls. Kate talked about the advantages of AGM batteries, noting they outperform traditional flooded batteries when partially charged, a key benefit if your normal driving consists of shorter trips. Let's hear from Kate.
Today's charging systems are not negatively affected by installing an AGM battery, and no modifications are needed for the alternator or the charging system. In fact, an AGM battery actually performs better when partially charged than a standard flooded battery. This means if you're not driving long enough distances to fully charge the battery, an AGM battery more efficiently performs and not consume additional power from the alternator. We were able to validate this in fleet testing we conducted in Las Vegas, where we witnessed AGM batteries providing up to twice the service life of a standard flooded battery.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's vehicles, and Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries. Learn more at autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And I want to welcome you back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic and invite your opinion. And we I was talking with Clifford there and about EVs and those sorts of things. And it's very interesting, so much so that Fabio, our producer and I were talking about the same thing in the break. And I mentioned the BMW, which recently introduced this out-of-the-world design. You can't see it. Well, maybe some of you folks there on Watch Bobby Live, you have an opportunity. Just Google iNext, I-N-E-X-T, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's kind of a strange-looking SUV, but it's a concept, and concepts have to be kind of weird, or they're not a concept. If they're something you see on the showroom floor, they're not a concept. They're a reality. Now, what I like to see is concepts becoming a reality, and all too often, this has happened, historically. All too often, by the time the concept makes the showroom floor, it no longer looks like the concept that it was that raised so much interest. So that's anytime that I've interviewed, and I've interviewed many executives with OEM companies. I would say, well, does this concept, you think it'll ever make it to the showroom floor? And one of the biggest, busiest, most often talked about new cars is the mid-engine Corvette. Now, I've never been a Corvette fan, only because I didn't care for the harsh ride and what have you, because that's what they're really known for. Although in the recent years, I think the car is just beautiful. They're really bad cars. And I say bad, I'm talking about they're fast and they're adequately safe, all those good things. But the mid-engine, and I mean, that's as close to a Ferrari as you can get. Now that car is going to come out, and as I understand, the starting price is going to be somewhere, under south of $100,000, $80,000. And so there are a lot of people that said, well, that General Motors is really making a mistake there. They should make this car $130,000 like a Ferrari, but not as expensive as a Ferrari, and give it a special place in life versus compete with the existing Corvette. But I think it's General Motors' mindset not to make one-offs, but to make 100 offs, to make thousands off, to make cars that more people can buy and are more affordable, so they can sell more cars. No doubt. I mean, that's what they're in the business of selling, so I think that's really interesting. Also, it's interesting, as Clifford said, from who I think is from Nebraska. Was he Nebraska? I think he was. Yeah. He talked about EVs and the cold weather and charging of batteries and those sorts of things. And here's this BMW here that says it's going to run more than 400 miles on a single charge. Now that's significant, and yet, when Tesla came out, they were, and then the Volt came out, then the Bolt, GM came out with the Bolt to do away with the Volt. And by the way, the Bolt, the Volt had a purpose-built engine. I take that back. The Volt did not have a purpose-built engine. It was the Bolt that has a purpose-built engine, meaning that the Volt had a 1.4 liter gasoline that charged the battery for extended range. Now, it's an extender is what that is. And all that means is that it takes away the anxiety of, like my phone runs out of juice toward the end of the day, my car's going to run out of power and it's going to leave me stranded, and that's the anxiety factor. And Fabio, you and I were talking about whether or not manufacturers would make these EV cars and whether or not people would buy them. Well, I say this, unless the manufacturers make the cars, we'll never know if people will buy them. But trust me, if people would buy Aztec vehicles from General Motors, you folks with Aztecs, you're not going to like Bobby Likis, but that's okay. That's the ugliest car ever made in the world. It's the most unusual, weirdest, strangest looking Aztec, and people bought them. They did. They bought them. And so, well, maybe not as many as Mustangs were sold, but let's face it, they bought it. So the i3, that's another strange-looking car from BMW. And this little concept here, not so little, looks like kind of like the i3 on steroids, as I said. But people buy those. But I sat in one of those cars, and I had my bias. I had my prejudice at first because I'm a prejudiced a little bit against BMW, only because I service them, so I know that they leak a lot of oil. Now, the ones that we see, most of the ones that we see. So we're really aware of informing our customers about what their cars. Of course, you could do worse. You could buy an Audi, a used Audi versus a used anything else, and then you would have an oil leaker for sure. So I guess I'll get some hate mail on that too, but it is what it is. And to that end, Toyota makes the best used cars in the world, just for you to know. I don't drive a Toyota. I think Lexus are really way cool. I think they're boring. They work so well, they're kind of boring. Well, maybe not the LS 500. If Jesse's tuned in there from Mobile, he wouldn't like me saying that they're boring. So the LS 500 is not boring, but for the most part, the other Lexus are. They do everything really, really well, and they're not quite unique enough, but they are great cars, and they make great used cars. So if you're looking for a car for your daughter or to go off to college or for yourself, just and not buying a new car, used car, high mileage used car, good price. Because usually when you're looking at a used car, they're like either the $5,000 to $7,000 to $10,000. I don't know, Bobby. You know any good cars for $5,000? I do not. I know some you can buy for $5,000 as long as you know that you got to spend $5,000 more on the $5,000 to make it a usable car. Why don't you just buy one for $10,000 or buy one for $7,500? Forget the $5,000 deal, because if you buy a car for $7,500 and you buy a car for $5,000, the car that you buy for $5,000, you can't spend $2,500 on to make it a $7,500 car, because it's still going to be a $5,000 car. Just for you to know, you can spend $5,000 on a $5,000 car and have $10,000 in it. It still wouldn't be as good as the one you could have bought for $7,500. So when you look at used cars, do not let price drive you altogether. Let it be a factor, but don't let price drive you altogether. I say this because I've been there, done that, and we've saved so many people so much money with our pre-purchase vehicle inspection for our company. It's unbelievable. Never buy a car without a pre-purchase inspection. Now, I think that's interesting for me to say and to tell you, because I bought a used car without having it third-party inspected. Why would I do that? I bought it from a Mercedes dealer. It was a certified used car. It had 11,700 miles on it, and it was a smart car. So I know the car. I know as much about the smart cars, if not more, than most Mercedes dealers, because a lot of Mercedes dealers don't sell those cars, and a lot of technicians at Mercedes dealers said, "Well, I don't know. I'm not going to work on that car." I'm telling you, folks, it's a, you think the dealers know all this. Well, they're really good at what they do in a limited box. Chevrolet technicians are good at Chevrolets, but if you put a Ford in front of them or a Kia in front of them, I don't know anything about that car. So it's just kind of unique. Whereas in our position, we work on all makes, and that's you have to be on your P's and Q's and stay up to date with technology. So let's talk about. I'll take your calls. 888 Car Clinic. I'm sorry, I didn't invite you to call, but I will. I am 888-227-2546. Give Miss Hannah something to do, and she'll put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air. Gas prices, and we're talking about EVs this morning. A couple of our callers were. So gas prices are higher than they were this time last week in every region in the country, and they're higher than they were last year, same time, in 7 out of 10 regions. However, it's still $2.74. And it's $3.41 on the West Coast. And the West Coast, not counting California, is $3 and a nickel. So gas prices, for all intents and purposes, are really, really down. I mean, when you think about it, when you think about transportation and think about having the freedom to go when and where and how you please in your car, would you stop and fill up at every corner station? It's a no-brainer. Why is gas so low? Well, the price of crude. Why? You think it doesn't have anything to do with EVs? You think again. I can assure you, as much money as the OEMs are in R&D and building new cars, EV new cars. And although I'm not necessarily, you know, a fan of Porsche cars, I love Porsche. I own a Porsche, but the Panamera, the new Panamera, or it's not a Panamera, but they're called E-Mission, E, capital E, and then Mission, and that's an EV, sort of like a Panamera, but it is a drop-dead gorgeous car. I'd like to see one in you know, face to face. I've only seen pictures, but that's a beautiful automobile. I think that maybe my next car would be an e-car, and you can now get e-cars with the sound effects of a V8, even with the shiftability of a transmission. Bing, 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 oh, you could, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You could have a dozen gears, and yet it's really not a gear. It's just a you know, a simulated gear. Very, very interesting, I think. But I do appreciate. I love my Porsche, and to that end, my Porsche is a classic vehicle. And if you have a classic vehicle, you might want to consider who insures your classic car. And I will tell you, you should think about Grundy Insurance. They're the inventors of, and get this folks, agreed value insurance policy. It's the safest way to protect your collector car. You can check it out at Grundy.com. And I have to tell you, again, it's called Agreed Value. They are the only insurance company that will agree to a value on your car and maintain that value. They won't drop it next year. In fact, if you wanted to update your insurance coverage, you just simply reach out to a Grundy agent and say, I've added to and I've increased the value of my car. See, my car is worth right now $30,000 more than it was this time 5 years ago. $30,000 more. It's a 1980 911 VSOC or YSOC, and they only made 406 of them. I have one of those, and the car is as new. And it sits just outside my studio door with E10, by the way. It's an 80 model. Heaven forbid you should put ethanol in an 80 model. Right, really? And this car, I've driven it 1,200 miles since 2004. I'm currently updating the air conditioning system in it. I'm spending about $1,500 on the air conditioning system because it had a leaking evaporator core, and I'm putting what's called a Griffith, which is the best evaporator core. And so here's a 1980 model car. Well, it doesn't have 80 tires on it. It's got new tires on it. So the car actually drives better now than it did when it was new because of the technology of the tires. The air conditioner is going to work probably 70% better than it did new. Why? Because it'll have a new Griffith air conditioning core. Anyway, Grundy knows all this. Grundy knows, and they agree to an agreed value insurance policy. So check it out at Grundy.com. Your calls, 888-227-2546. And AAA, I mentioned AAA at the onset of the program. I thought I'd share this with you. This is a key finding from studies that were performed in 2015, 18, and 19. The average illumination for high beam, this is comparing European headlights to U.S. spec headlights. So get this, folks. The average illumination for high beam is 12.5% higher for European specification as compared to U.S. The European spec systems consistently provide more roadway lighting when an oncoming vehicle was approaching or a preceding vehicle was close. And based on static target illumination data, the increase in roadway lighting could be as much as 86%. And this is compared European to U.S. So why is that important? Well, the method of restoring your lights And you've seen those cars with those cloudy lens, and especially if you, those of you who drive Mercedes-Benz, if you've got a Mercedes-Benz that's 8-10 years old, it doesn't look 8 or 10 years old. I mean, it's hard to determine. Just like my 911 Porsche, it's a unique body, but is it a 80 model, or is it a 90 model, or is it a 2000? Who knows? Unless you are a Porsche file. Well, with Mercedes, you can always tell the older Mercedes because they have cloudy headlights. Hey, folks, you can fix that. So the restored percentage of light restored, this is not the number of cars, but the illumination. Replacement, you get 100% restoration. If you replace with a certified aftermarket headlamp assembly, you get 90%. And if you have a professional restore your cloudy headlights, not only do you have a newer looking Mercedes, but you have 70% more light. And that's for about $100, a little under $100. And if you do it yourself, or you can do it for about $25, and you get your 70%. So that information from AAA, really interesting. We are a AAA approved auto repair facility, so you can remember that as well. And also another great hour coming up, so if you have a question, think about it, ponder it, and then when I come back after the break and after the top of the hour, you can give us a call at 888 Car Clinic. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Today's Repair Spotlight is for gasoline-powered engines with 60,000 plus miles. At this age and high mileage, vehicles can develop irritating small oil leaks that can make a mess and ultimately cause serious damage to engine and chassis components. The solution? Berryman's B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator. It's simple to use and safe for engine components like catalytic converters and oxygen sensors. Berryman B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator cleans and protects the crankcase and engine oil system on all gas-powered vehicles, and conditions and revitalizes seals and gaskets to help stop oil leaks. Berryman B60 High Mileage Oil System Rejuvenator contains zinc-based ZDDP and molybdenum moly to help fight friction, heat, and wear. It helps prevent sludge formation to maximize engine performance and life. Don't put up with those pesky oil leaks. Add some Berryman B60 to your motor oil and add another level of protection for your engine. Learn more about Berryman B60 and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulsiford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulsiford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad you tuned in. And just remember, every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, we come to you from the, as I say, the center of the automotive universe, and which is really very accurate because my life does, sort of revolve around automobiles. I guess you could call that lucky, or you could call it a curse. I mean, if we went out to dinner and I'm in your car, you really wouldn't want me to sit in the back seat because that, oh, did you know you got a shock absorber loose back here? True story. That happened to me when I went up to North Carolina during a trip. Drove from here to Atlanta and met some folks there. Got in their car. Not my mistake. Well, it wasn't my mistake. I wouldn't take my car up in that country, in the woods there. We took their car, and I had to sit in the back seat with a left rear axle going the whole trip. I'll never forget that. That'll never happen again. I did advise them, and they've since had the car repaired. They didn't even know what the noise was. Really, the axle could have come out with me in it, and them in it. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you this morning in part by the Car Care Council, reminding you that April is National Car Care Month. You can visit carcare.org for fantastic tools, tips, and service schedules, videos, and more. carcare.org. Your calls at 888 Car Clinic when I come back. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature, in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element UltraStat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The UltraStat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The UltraStat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad UltraStat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. We recently had an 09 Honda Pilot come into the shop with 169,000 miles on the odometer. The vehicle owner said the cabin was starting to smell like coolant, and he was concerned. Upon closer inspection, we found a heater core leak. Choices were to keep the vehicle and make a repair, which at best is half a day's labor plus parts, or sell the vehicle and buy a different used car that could have its own set of problems. We presented a third option, K-Seal. You've heard me talk about K-Seal before. Well, I don't just talk about it, we actually use the product in our service shop. It's a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Other sealers use sodium silicate, which has the tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Our customer went with K-Seal, and 1 month later, no more leak. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your hosts, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour. I want to welcome you. I'm Bobby Likis. Just consider me your personal car consultant. If you have a question about your car or tires or batteries or paint or insurance or maintenance, how to keep your car in your garage and out of mine, that's the ticket. Although you definitely want to get your car in at least twice a year into a certified service shop to have it inspected. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the program. That's not just an oil change. That means inspected. Oh, by the way, oil change comes with it, but you shouldn't take your car in for an oil change. You should take your car in and have it inspected, and while it's there, have the oil changed. You see the difference? A huge difference. Let's go to Nebraska, talk with Craig. Craig, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby. Could use your insight here a bit.
Sure.
I've got a 2016 Ford Escape two-wheel drive 1.6-liter turbo.
Mm-hmm.
It was off-lease car I bought last year. And listening to you a while back about accelerating briefly to kick some carbon out of it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure.
The turbo around town will just about jump out from underneath you. I mean, the car really scoots at low speeds. But if I floor it recently, part of the time it'll hit about 45 mile an hour, and then it'll pause and then take off again, or it'll hit that 45, 50 mile an hour range and just die. Nothing happens. So I let off the accelerator, and again, maybe if I push it to the floor, nothing, more gently, it'll just take off and run. You have any insight?
I do.
As to what might be going on there?
I do. It's Ford Motor Company protecting the hardware. It is an automatic shutdown, and I drove, funny you should say this, because I recently drove a Nissan product that was a rental car. And I have a thing against rental cars. It goes back a long way. I have a thing for cars. I think a car is a person. I mean, it's almost. I know it's an inanimate object, but to me, cars are so real. So, years ago, I was in Las Vegas and with friends. We used to go there every year with these friends that were from Las Vegas. They actually lived in Pensacola, Florida. And they were in the McDonald's business. In fact, my friend's father married Ray Kroc's sister. And so so Ray Kroc says, okay, we're going to give you a McDonald's franchise, but you have to move from Las Vegas to Pensacola, Florida. And so Fayette, that was his name, Fayette says, I don't want to live in Florida. He said, okay, you don't get a franchise. So that's how they came to live in Florida. That's a true story. So we used to go because they were from Las Vegas, and then David, the son, his wife was from Compton, California. So for years we'd go to Las Vegas. And one year we rented this rental car, and it had, and I don't know, David, I'd let him choose who to rent it from. And I don't know who he chose, but it was a really bad car. It was so bad that they'd worked on the engine, and it still had some of the engine parts in the trunk. I don't know what. So we went to this Harrah's Museum, and I got out, and when I did, there was a chain that was on like a rope chain, and the back door of this rental car hit the chain, and it went brrr, brrr. And I sat there in that car, moving that door back and forth on that chain. Brrr, brrr. True story. And Dave turned around, looked at me, and Shirley turned around, looked at me, and my wife looked at me and said, what are you doing? And it was unbelievable that I would treat this car with such disrespect. I said, it's a rental car. And so the other day, so we have a standing joke in the shop. Whenever anyone rents a rental car, I'll say, I want to drive it. So the other day, Johnny Bars rented a rental car, and I drove it first. And I nailed the throttle to have fun. You can't hurt these cars anyway. And just like Craig, you can't hurt your car because it's got a limiter on it. You could put it in a parking lot, crank it up, as long as it's up to operating temperature, any car you buy these days. and put it in park and floorboard it in park, in neutral, but you do it in park, and the engine will come up to about 3,000 RPM. Just stay there. It won't do anything else. It's protected. So I drove this Nissan, and I nailed it for all that it was worth, because I wanted to see how it ran and to have fun. Well, it got up to about 6,000 RPM or 5,800 RPM, or whatever the rev limit was, and it just kind of, it just stayed there. I backed off the throttle just a skosh, and it shifted, and then it went on. Although it was a CVT transmission, which is not my favorite either. But I believe, having said all that and told you the story that you may not have needed to hear, but it was truth. I believe that what Ford is doing there is under wide open throttle. They're protecting their hardware and taking that advantage of that turbo away from you. It reaches such a high peak. Here's what I would do if it were mine. Of course, they don't make this for my car. You've heard me talk about super chips, and I recently installed a flash pack on a Ford diesel that is absolutely bad to the bone. I'm telling you, Craig, it was unbelievable at the increased power. So if I owned your Ford Escape, and I'm not sure that they even make a chip for your vehicle, but it's worth, whether you drive a Ford, a GM, or a Chrysler, or a Ford Escape, I would go to superchips.com, and I would check out and see if there was a program available, because you think you've got a fast car right now, and just to show you that I'm, not that I have to prove anything, but the little smart car that I bought my wife that has the 55 cubic inch 0.9 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder, which is bad to the bone, for $490 from the UK. And also I found one last night in the US. I can buy a kit that modifies the transmission and the turbo shifting points. So I asked Diane, I said, how'd you like to do that? She says, I'd love that. I'd love that. I said, well, when you get to the point that the car starts getting slow, when she gets accustomed to the power that this little 3-cylinder engine has, I'm going to get her for $500. I'm going to get her a turn more horsepower loose kit, which is a reprogramming, a tuner for the PCM. So there's nothing wrong with your Escape. It's just that it's protected by Ford hardware. So, now what I would do, and what I do recommend for you, other than just making this phone call conversation, I'd like to have some closure. I would take my car to the dealer and ask them to hook it up to the OEM, to the Ford site, which they can do, to see if there are any downloads available, updates for your PCM. So don't call them. Go by there and talk to a service manager. Go to is there a local Ford dealer near you there in Nebraska?
Very close, yes.
Okay. Well, wait. Don't do it on a Monday at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock. Wait till like, Tuesday at 10 o'clock, because that's after the cars have come in and the guys at the service desk have a break, and just drop by and friendly and say, hey, you got a minute? And just kind of like start a conversation. Tell them who you are. Mention my name. And say, would you do me a favor? Well, sure. Because that way you don't have a complaint. You're not walking in with a complaint. You're walking in as an owner, and hey, can I have your ear just a minute? And ask them if they would check your VIN and your vehicle for an upgrade for the PCM, because I can tell you a lot of the issues that we have, and a lot of the drivability complaints that new car dealers have now, new car dealers, in fact, are relegated to check online with the car maker for an update to the PCM before they can repair a check engine light, because there could be a PCM upgrade or some program update, and yours may be the perfect candidate. You got it?
Very good. Thank you so much, Bobby.
You're welcome. Nice talking with you. So there you go, turbo. What's a turbo? I have information about a turbo, super turbo. It's called Super Turbo, and that's one word, Technologies, to present at the SAE World Congress with Isuzu Motors. So the Society of Automotive Engineers. So this is the real stuff. It's a presentation about information on years of simulation and engine testing, focusing on improved steady state efficiency of a 7.8-liter diesel engine. And the results shown will include the impact on emissions through changing steady state performance and comparisons against variable geometry turbochargers and two-stage turbochargers. What does all that mean? It just means that they're reinventing the wheel as we speak. And when I come back, we're going to go to Arkansas and talk to Major Bill, who was our producer for a long time. Don't go away. Why CarStar? Today's vehicles offer comforts and conveniences never imagined 20 years ago. Backup cameras, entertainment systems, start-stop technology, the list goes on. These technologies help avoid accidents. But what happens after a crash? Growth in electronic vehicle content adds to the collision repair cost and complexity. Damage a side view mirror or paint a bumper, and you may change the trajectory of that sensor. Adaptive headlights are another example. They actually turn the corner with you as you're turning the corner. The price for these headlights can reach $2,000. Now, more than ever, it's important to follow automaker guidelines for vehicle repairs. Don't compromise vehicle safety. CarStar is North America's largest multi-shop operator of independently owned repair facilities. CarStar delivers consistently high-quality repairs and the industry's highest customer satisfaction ratings. At CarStar, they don't just repair cars, they repair your car. Learn more at carstar.com. Folks, recently a '99 Chevrolet Blazer came into the shop. The owner was having problems with hesitation upon acceleration. He'd already changed out several parts: spark plugs, wires, ignition coil, mass airflow sensor, fuel filter, and the air filter element. He even changed the thermostat and coolant temperature sensor. Still had the same problem after putting a lot of money in this car, and he was frustrated. We dug a little deeper, cleaned the throttle body, and checked for trouble codes. No codes. So we recommended Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Carbon deposits and dirty fuel injector nozzles are a common problem with drivability in late model engines. We also recommended a higher quality gasoline. The customer noticed improvement on the first day, and only a few days and a few hundred miles later, the problem was completely gone. Berryman B12 Chem Tool features HEST, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to today's broadcast. We are live from the center of the automotive universe, and we are brought to you in part by Diablo Sport. Speaking of tuners, you can take the guesswork out of trying to pair performance products. The Reaper Stage 1 kit is a performance combo designed to improve power, drivability, and mileage potential. Drive over to diablosport.com for more information. Again, that's diablosport.com. I was talking about turbochargers, and I'll save that information because the phones are lit up, and I want to give you folks an opportunity to ask your questions. But a super turbo technology is a way, out-of-the-box way to manufacture a turbocharger, and I'll tell you a little more about that a little bit later. But let's go to, as I said, Major Bill in Arkansas. Bill Bentliff, it's a pleasure to have you join us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You ever been in the house before?
Once or twice. Good to hear from you, Bobby. How are you?
Well, it's good to hear from you, Bill, and I'm just absolutely terrific. How's your ticker doing?
Doing great.
Well, that's good.
Outstanding.
So,
not an issue.
So, folks, I have to tell this quick story in Fabio. So we're all out here having a Thanksgiving dinner. It wasn't a dinner; it was a lunch. About noonish or so. So all of a sudden, Bill's gone. I mean, we just sat down, said thanks, and we sat down. He's gone. So his wife walks up, and Diane's giving her, spiel like, well, it's Thanksgiving, and we just thank everybody. And his wife walks up to Diane, and she interrupts her. And I said, well, what's going on here? She says, excuse me, like a child would come up to you and say, excuse me, and you say, go away, And of course, Diane didn't tell her to go away. She says, we have a problem. So what's that? Well, Bill's in the bathroom on the floor, and took him to there. And that afternoon, that was at noon or noonish or 1 o'clock. By 4, you had a stent, right, Bill?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and so
I was only gone for a small stint. Har.
Yeah. Well, actually, he did want to come back to work that afternoon. That afternoon.
I did.
Yeah, with the dog.
I had a show to do, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Well, I'm glad you're still with us.
I'm enjoying it. Would you believe it? I'm getting ready for snow here in Arkansas.
I don't want to hear about snow, but why did you call other than to say hello?
I called. I heard your commercial there about what was it? Oh gosh, I forgot the name. It was about a Honda that you had that had a heater core leak.
Yeah, right.
I have a Honda, and I'm smelling a little bit of radiator in the driver compartment. So, question is this common for Honda pilots, or is it like a one-off? Because I have a Honda Pilot, and I'm smelling it. And I'm wondering if KCL would take care of that.
KCL would work perfectly, but no, there's nothing proprietary or simple or one-off. I meant singular or one-off about Honda Pilot heater cores. Any automobile that has a heater core, which means every automobile on the highway, has nothing more than, and a heater core, Bill, as you know, you're aware, but a lot of people are not. Mm-hmm. A heater core is a small radiator. It's just the radiator the size of I don't know, maybe a 8 by 10 4-inch thick row of coils with fins,
right.
And hot water from the engine coolant goes through that core and back to the engine. And there are blend doors that open to give you more heat or more air conditioner or a little of both, and that's how you control the temperature of the cabin. So what that means is that all the coolant pressure, which is usually 15 to 18 psi, is in that heater core, and yet the heater core doesn't see a lot of action. So if you don't change the coolant every 30,000 miles, sooner or later, the heater core is going to corrode, as is the radiator, the whole cooling system, and then the core will leak or the radiator will leak. So, and gosh, I can't tell you how many radiators we've had to replace, and also heater cores we've had to replace because the cooling system was trash, because the car had 100,000 miles and never had a change, never had the coolant change. So anyway, to say that, yeah, KCL would work for you as well. And you know what the alternative is, and that's you don't want to go there, man. Pull that dash.
Rip out everything.
No, everything. No, so yeah, by all means, yeah, the KCL, it's a good product. It really does work. They use a ceramic build. It's a ceramic based chemistry, and it's also the only industry approved stop leak that I know of that is on the market. In fact, I'll have the name of that let's see. Well, anyway, you have more information at kcl.com, but it really is a great. I've got it right here. Here it is. KCL is independently proved to ASTM D3147, the only standard for coolant stop leak products. I just happen to have that right here in front of me, and thanks for reminding me. ASTM, that's the American Society of Testing Materials. So that's like SAE, Society of Automotive Engineers.
Yeah.
What else is on your mind?
Well, I guess I'll be heading to O'Reilly's here in a little bit.
Well, yeah.
I just want to mention to you, we talked about my 1948 tractor that I have, and you were talking about the E10. I just, when I bought this tractor, I knew that the guy told me, don't ever use ethanol. Don't ever use ethanol in these tractors.
You love that,
I thought to myself, well, I know Bobby Likis. I took off everything that had to do with the fuel system, including the gas tank, cleaned it all out, and rebuilt everything. I mean, it's easy. There's nothing to it, really. Put all the new stuff in it. I haven't had a problem with that thing in a year and a half. Runs like a dream.
With
leak,
ethanol?
No problem.
So you're using the E10 in a 1948 tractor?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that stuff will tear up your lawnmower. Well, Bill, the Porsche, and because you've seen that, the Porsche still sits beautiful. Right out of the studio here. Oh, it's gorgeous, and I'm just updating the AC on it now. I can't wait to drive it, and it still sits there. And I have on and I'll have to go because we have other calls, but I'll say this as I have before. On my iPhone, under my notes section, I have one note that gives me the date that I put fuel in my car. And it averages about twice a year that I will go up to the station, and that's it. And I only drive it from here to Airport Boulevard, which is, but I run it, every time I crank the engine, I run it no less than 30 minutes to let the oil warm up. Otherwise, I would create moisture and cause issues. Not with the fuel, but with the oil. So the point is, it's as we talk, it's right outside the studio with E10 in it. So for all the folks that have so much a lack of education, which is really the way that I should say that, because ethanol is it's a good product. It's but not. Don't ask the API about ethanol.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. They had the issue of putting ethanol into older cars because it caused problems.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be looking at the opposite now if you didn't put E10 in there because gasoline is so dang filthy?
Well, that's a whole another show, but yeah, you make a good point, Bill. And to that end, I'll just close with this. Mercury Marine came out with a white paper in 2009, and I have that paper, with a study of their chemists and their engineers. There were 5 different people from the major corporation that owns Mercury Marine, and they make that, of course, the most outboard engines. And they stated, number one, they were not against E10. In fact, they stated that a fuel tank would run drier with E10 after the first tank than it would with gasoline. And the reason for that is really simple. Ethanol, and people think that ethanol has tentacles where it reaches out and grabs moisture. Not true. Ethanol can suspend moisture, 4 teaspoons, whereas gasoline will suspend 0.15 teaspoons. So a vehicle with ethanol in the tank will hold 26 times more water in suspension than with gasoline, which means that any moisture in the tank is suspended, emulsified, and goes right through the fuel system and is vaporized in the combustion chamber. That's the real fact. That's the real fact. And to that end, in my Jag, I could pour 12 ounces, I could take a bottle of water and pour it in my gas tank with a full 20 gallons, and the car would never know it. It would just burn and vaporize through the system. That's how much water you can support with ethanol. And yet, and also all of the and that we had actually lost a couple of sponsors because I wouldn't promote anti-ethanol chemicals.
Right.
Okay, and I could name them. I won't name them. But what's ironic about that, and then we'll take another call. What's ironic about that is that the very companies that make anti-ethanol bottles sell gasoline antifreeze for 40 years, which contains isopropyl alcohol.
Yep.
Really? So anyway, thanks for your call.
And some of those anti-ethanol products contain ethanol.
Yes, I know.
Weird. Okay.
It is weird.
Thanks,
Okay.
Bobby. I appreciate
Thanks.
your time.
Stay well. Thanks for checking in. Let's go to Washington. Take a call from Victor. Victor, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How you doing?
Hi, pretty good.
Good.
Sounds like you're doing real good this morning.
I'm having fun, man.
Yeah, you bet. Now, on the electric cars, I really don't know anything about them, but how do they control the RPM of the electric motor to the revolutions of the tires? And you come to a stop at the stoplights, and how do they spin that thing, or do they quit spinning it at that time, or how do they do that?
It's a direct drive with a transmission, and I say direct drive, obviously. I think it's a direct drive, and that's a good question. Answers, I don't know the answer to that question, but because I haven't seen one apart, and so I don't know, and I haven't taken the time to check online. But as you know, depending on, and you can use a potentiometer, which is what the gas pedal is. It's a voltage limiter. If you take the voltage away from an electric motor, it stops. So if you let your foot off the accelerator, the battery voltage that drives the electric motor then stops, and so the motor stops. In fact, when you step on the brake, now the same motor that is being driven by the battery is driving power back into the battery. Yeah, a good question. Stay right there. I'll come back after the hard break. I see that Gordon's call and another call. So this is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad you tuned in, folks. Don't go away. Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer without even popping the hood. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for Power Tech. Jim touched on some of the additional products Diablo Sport has to offer.
In addition to the Diablo Sport lineup of tuners, Diablo Sport also offers Jammer cold air intake systems and Hooker Blackheart exhaust kits. These kits work in concert with the Predator 2, Intune i3, and Trinity 2 programmers to deliver increased fuel economy, mileage, and overall performance for your gas truck or SUV.
Folks, Diablo Sports performance products make the perfect holiday gift, and now is a perfect time to buy with their holidays savings. How cool is that? You get up to 20% off SRP on their extensive lineup of premium performance products. Learn more at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She, too, was surviving kidney disease. She showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now, you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, we'll go back to Washington with Victor. So, Victor, talking about EVs and transmissions. As I understand, just like a golf cart, you've got a direct drive, you've got a motor, and the electric motor, the maximum torque is initially. So whereas the opposite is really true for an internal combustion engine, an ICE internal combustion engine. ICEs have to reach X RPM before the torque, and the torque is the ability to turn the crankshaft, whereas horsepower is the ability to go fast. So if you're on the Daytona International Speedway, which is a great place to be, by the way, running 200 miles per hour, you better have a lot of horsepower. But if you're coming out of number 4 turn on the beginning of a pace lap, and you're starting to accelerate, you better have a lot of torque, and that's where it draws, that seat of the pants drawing away. Well, with an EV, and this is where E-assist comes in. If you have E-assist, because a perfect car would have, all cars would have E-assist, which means you got an internal combustion engine to go where you want to go and have the gas, and no anxiety with running out of battery. But when you come to a hill, you got the E-assist that lifts the car over the hill so that the gas mileage stays consistent with the internal combustion engine. In fact, Buick came out with the E-assist, and then it faded. I never heard any more about it. But anyway, any questions?
No, that sounds like a good idea. The E-assist. I suppose if they start turning that motor and they keep it spinning, they could have kind of a hydropower drive or a torque converter drive of the fluid, where they could let the fluid just kind of spin, and then they could turn torque directly into the drive line by when they step on the so-called accelerator, which would make the torque converter put the torque from the electric motor to the drive line or something like that. But I don't know if they do something.
That's funny you should say that, just to show you how intuitive you are. When we hang up, you just Google KERS, K-E-R-S. That is old technology, because now they have a new one. The Formula One race engines have kinetic energy stored, and kinetic energy is a big disc that turns about 60,000 RPM, and it's housed within an anti-explosive shell. And when you're running 220 miles per hour side by side, and you've got maybe 500 feet or 1,000 feet to the next 35 mile per hour hairpin turn, and you're side by side with say you and I are side by side, I can push a button and automatically take my 220 mile per hour Formula One car and go boom, and use that KERS, that KERS unit, that stored energy, and launch ahead of you a half a car length, and I get to the curve before you do, and now I'm limited to how many times I can use that go button that energizes the KERS unit. And if I use it more times than 7 seconds per lap or something like that, and I don't know the rules, then I have to go to the back of the line, or I have to lose a space. So that's what we have today. So what you're saying is already in use, more to speak. Anyway, thanks for your call. As always, glad to hear from Washington. Let's go to Gordon. Gordon, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Hey, thank you. I wanted to revisit 2 issues. One of them was I wanted to give you my personal experience on the alcohol thing. And secondly, my father used to run the Bobby Watt Speed Shop on auto parts. And even though I didn't want to bump someone that had a real car question, you were good enough to give me the okay to call in with a little bit of car history.
Absolutely.
So my dad, so in any case, I would go up to Walmart and Walgreens and get 91% isopropyl and ethyl alcohol. Ethanol and ethyl alcohol is 2 words for the same thing.
Right.
And it would have 9% water in it. And you know, I looked at that research paper, and the explanations that you gave a couple of weeks back were great, how we didn't have the infrastructure, and that was limiting, but that it was a good idea, and that it was not really corrosive and the urban legends and whatnot. If you could post that research paper up on your website or somehow give it out, well, you know, that would be good. But I just wanted to find out the one thing I wanted to find out about the ethanol is, since I can't get the pure stuff at Walgreens and Walmart, it's ethyl, wood alcohol and isopropyl alcohol. That's what I meant, not methyl, but ethyl and isopropyl. They have 9% water. Does the 9% water, since it's such a small amount, help or hurt the octane? And the second thing is that this past May of 2018, my dad passed away, and I was able to finally get in touch with Sol Stewart, and he suggested Colonel Bob Tinsfield. That's his nickname. He was in the military, but I don't think he was a colonel. And neither one of them had ever heard of my father, but your call screener, and everyone else I've talked to either knows him or has heard of him. And briefly, when my father passed away, he had been in business selling car parts and was in drag racing and was real well known in Central Florida. But he was not well known as, say, John Force or Shirley Chacho Muldowney or the Swamp Rat Big Daddy Don Garlics. And so all of his customers, like 10 or 20 of them, came to me and said, here, why don't you ought to talk to Big Daddy Don Garlics, because he was friends with your father. He said, why don't you see if you can get him to put his shop sign in the museum. So I called up Don, and he didn't put it in there, but they were polite to me.
Don't you love it?
Don and I recognized each other when we saw each other. He came up to the shop to see if he could buy something. They bought a little bit of old stuff. And so I don't know whether my father deserves to get in the museum, but it's huge. And
so Gordon, all right. So if I may, I don't want to interrupt you, but I have to. So Bobby Watts deserves a place in Don Garlick's museum. And so that's, you heard it from me, and I'll be the first to vote for Bobby Watts to be there, your father. I know that you're passionate in your love for your father, and I admire you for that. I'd like to address and then move on to other calls, because the phones are exploded. I don't know, it's a 2-minute drill we're on here, because at the last of the second hour, everybody calls. But the bottom line is, with regard to isopropyl alcohol and 7% water, pure grain alcohol is what ethanol is. It's 100%. After the ethanol is made, before it's put into the rail car, it's run through a molecular sieve. And this sieve removes any moisture. So 200% alcohol is 100% ethanol. 100% grain alcohol. Then the plant manufacturers, like so many in Nebraska, for instance, Kappa Ethanol, they take the 100% grain alcohol and then they make it ethanol. Now, understand, the 100% grain alcohol would qualify, and it will, for alcohol that we drink. I mean, it's biodegradable. It's what we drink. So what they do to make it legal to sell and not get taxed as alcohol, they ruin it by putting 2% gasoline in it, and then it becomes denatured. That's how you denature alcohol. So it is 100% biodegradable product, it's human safe, and then they put in 2 gallons or 2% gasoline, and that makes it ethanol. That's what ethanol is, and yet nobody knows that, and yet it's common, but nobody knows that. And they say, oh, that stuff is really bad. Really? You don't want to know what's bad? The aromatics and the chemicals in gasoline. And in closing, and I'll move on, gasoline contains more than 1,000 different chemicals, almost any of which will kill you if you drink it. So there you go. Thanks for your call, Gordon, and hats off to your father, Bobby Watts. Go to Tony. Tony, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for calling. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Bobby. 2 things real quick. I know you got people waiting. I called you about the ethanol thing, but first of all, I want to let you know I bought a Diablo Sport tuner for my 2005 GMC diesel, Duramax diesel pickup truck.
Yeah.
And I've only used it on the performance mode. I programmed it right away to the performance mode.
You think?
And the thing runs like a 67 396 Chevelle. It's unbelievable the difference I saw in power and acceleration in this. And my fuel mileage went up on the performance mode about 3 miles per gallon in the performance mode.
Well, the 250.
So I don't know what it'll do if I program it to the economy mode.
You know, Tony, I'm with you. The 250 that I programmed about 3 weeks ago, we also used an amped throttle that we put on it that you should check into, because it's really way cool, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later if we have time. But the vehicle that we added, that I tuned, went up from 16.2, from 16.2 to 18.2, and the driver is very aggressive driver. And I told Neil, I said, hey, look, I know that you're going to the hunting camp this weekend. I know you're going to be driving. He said, well, yeah, sometimes, Jimmy will drive the car. A friend of his that goes with him, and he'll drive. He said, but I drive more aggressively. He got 2 more miles per gallon, and I can assure you, I did a video on this. We posted it this week, I think. I did a video on this because when I first nailed the throttle, the rear wheels of this big diesel, not a dually, but a 250, spun, and when it shifted into second gear, it went, and they broke loose again, and it was unbelievable. It was just unbelievable. So then is this a stock diesel? Absolutely. Is yours a stock diesel? Absolutely. It's what the manufacturers leave under the hood that everybody just doesn't know about, So I thank you for your call. What else did you have on your mind?
Well, I have a 2004 Harley-Davidson Road King, and I was concerned about running gasoline in it with ethanol. And everybody's told me if you're going to use ethanol gasoline, you need to run the fuel out of your tank. Don't let it sit in the tank for more than a couple of weeks and that kind of stuff. I was even going down here in Daytona to Cunningham's and buying non-ethanol gas at $4.80 a gallon for a while. I quit doing that. I just run regular gas in it now. But I was using an additive, but you're saying right now I can run ethanol gas in my motorcycle without any problem, and the fuel can sit in it. I mean, I don't let my bike sit. I have 130,000 miles on my bike.
So let me ask this question, Tony: Is your motor fuel injected, and does it have an O2 sensor?
Yes, it does, and it is fuel injected.
Then you have 0 issues. And to that end, the Renewable Fuels Association goes to Sturgis every year and gives away E15 and E30 and E-gas to all to anyone that wants it. I mean, it's unbelievable at what the rumors are. I'm glad you called because you've got one. And you're doing the opposite of what do your buddies say about this?
A few of them like to run non-ethanol gas, and I just told them, I said, look, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm putting gasoline in here at 93 octane. I want the high octane gas in it.
Yes.
And I'm not worried about ethanol because I don't let gas sit in my tank. But I guess what you're saying is it doesn't really matter if it sits in there a little while.
It doesn't matter. In fact, the Porsche that I have right outside my door has been sitting there since 2005 December. I put 1,200 miles on it since 04, since December, well, that's 05. And the bottom line is, as we speak, there's 3/4 of a tank of E10 in that vehicle, and it jumps to life. Now, I only started about every 3 months. And the reason is because I don't drive the car. I choose not to drive the car because it's just beautiful, and I don't want the rock chip paint. But that's for another show. Anyway, Tony, thank you so much for calling and for sharing the real facts. I mean, from the real people about real stuff like ethanol and all your comments, and about your tuner kit for your diesel too. Appreciate you.
Can I ask you one more quick question about the tuner?
Yes.
I'm getting ready to go pick up a trailer. My trailer, it's a dual axle, 14-foot trailer. I don't carry a whole lot of weight in it, but on my tuner it says do not tow in the performance mode. So I should reprogram to the trailer, the towing mode, when I put the trailer on there.
Yes, and for that end, diesels, the exhaust temperature goes up. So when you start to push the envelope, you should have pyrometers on the exhaust system and monitors to make sure that you don't go. So therein lies some of the differential between what the manufacturers deliver to us on the showroom floor, which is limited and controlled and governed. So when you take the wraps off and you take the gloves off by using a tuner kit, like Super Chips, then what you're doing is you're opening that engine up if you went far enough, you could self-destruct, but that doesn't affect the warranty. But I'm saying if you could be dumb about anything. So yeah, but you're still leaving horsepower on the table. But yeah, just follow it. Read. You're doing the right thing. You read it. You see how the application is to be used to the particular driver's demands that you wish. Again, it's all great. It's all good. It's all factual, and it's a great product. Thanks for your call. I appreciate it, Tony.
Thanks, Bobby.
Let's go to Texas. Take a call from Lawrence. Short time left in today's broadcast. Lawrence, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. What can I do for you?
Thank you for taking my call. I got a friend who has a 08 Saturn Outlook, and the light's been coming on about 2% or 1% oil. And so I changed the oil the other day and let it sit there for a while, and it showed full. But once it's driven, the oil is leaking somewhere, but I don't see no oil leaks. And so we're wondering where it's going, because when I checked it again, I've checked it a few times, and it's between the last notch and the second notch on there. And so it's kind of a problem for where the oil is going to.
So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Because of the timing of your call, and because we are like down to the last 30 seconds of today's broadcast, I would ask that you call back. We're on from 9 till 11 Central Texas time. Call me next week, and I appreciate it. I didn't want to cut you off, but folks, that's all the time we have for today's broadcast. Where does time go? I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Protect your vehicle's engine with Castrol Edge Full Synthetic Motor Oil. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, get 5 quarts and a Wix filter for $33.99. Plus get a $15 gift card and 150 O-Rewards points. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The Car Care Council reminds you that April is National Car Care Month. It's a perfect time for a thorough check of various vehicle maintenance items: brakes, battery, tires, cooling system, filters, headlights, the exhaust system. These are just a few things to consider. Visit carcare.org to find out how you can best keep your vehicle safe, dependable, and on the road longer. It's National Car Care Month. Are you car care aware? Learn more at carcare.org. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain